What's up, everyone? It's Jonathan from Enigma Photos. Sorry again, the channel's been dead for 2 months. I've been working on a pretty huge project, renovation of a building downtown in Houston, the old Texaco building, which is kind of cool because my dad worked there. And before I started the project, the client and I were talking about it, and as we were walking up to the building, I was like, whoa, I used to go there as a kid. So it's kind of nostalgic. It's weird how the world works that way. Anyway, so I've been extremely busy doing that, basically not having time to do anything else but this project. Sometimes I'll shoot 2,000 to 3,000 pictures a day, which is crazy, but that's all for time lapse. But still crazy to me because I remember reading an article a while back about a photographer that was shooting that many pictures a day. Didn't say what he was shooting, but I just remember sitting there going, there is no freaking way unless you're doing a wedding, but every day. Well, with this project I've learned, yeah, sometimes 2,000, 1,000, 3,000, and with time-lapse video, you don't get a lot of time with it. You spend a lot of time getting it, but for example, 240 pictures, if you're doing 24, will give you 10 seconds footage. So you can do the math on that. So 2,000 is not going to give you like this long amount of footage. But anyway, back to the huge project. So what I'm going to start doing is vlogging about the day-to-day aspects of having a project this big, the things that you run into, things you might not think about. I don't see a lot of channels talking about like just being in there and getting stuff done. When other stuff happens, I can throw everything completely off. Things you might not plan for. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Today I'm going to talk about location. So being that it is a downtown location, there are buildings all around it, and getting a perspective is very important, especially if they're, let's say, for example, putting windows on one side of the building and things like that. You've always got to scout locations around. And scouting locations is probably the most important thing when doing a project, especially something like a building. You want a nice clear shot. You want to be up, you want to be down, you want to have different places where you can get different perspective. Sometimes my assistant will be on one parking garage and I'll be on another parking garage, and we'll be getting the same thing but just two different angles. So once I go back and put it together, it looks really cool. And speaking of parking garages, that's like one of the hidden secrets. Parking garages are great, especially in Houston. There's so many of them, and most of them open up to a roof. They're not enclosed, so you can get on the roof and get really cool perspectives. A little advice on that though. I would say 80% of the parking garages, you'll never see an attendant, which is good. No one will ever bother you. I would say be respectful no matter what. If they do have an attendant, or you see someone walking around, there's nothing there. I would say the best thing to do is just to say, hey, I'm here, I'm taking some pictures, my client is this, and I need to get this done. And 99% of the time they're going to leave you alone. It's just nice. And I always say be nice and respectful. But a few times, there are a couple parking garages down here that I did have to get specific permission to be able to use their parking garage. I also had to do something else, which is, we all know that we all should have insurance on our equipment, because if it's stolen, if it gets knocked over, something like that, you can replace it. That's always a smart thing. But also, with insurance, it allows, if someone were to trip over your equipment and hurt themselves, well, you've got insurance money that can be paid to them if they get hurt, not out of your pocket. So it insures other people, for you, from hurting other people. And the same thing is on these parking garages as well. They want you to carry insurances too, so they know basically that if anything happens, everybody's covered. And that's one little thing that you'll run into. And there's a lot of paperwork that goes with it. You'll have to add them to your insurance policy. They want different amounts. One of them wanted about 5 million, which is fine. Mine goes up to 2 million, so all I did was call them up and they changed it. But they'll want different aspects, and that it's part of the job of being a photographer. You think it's all taking pictures and editing, but if you're running your own photography business, there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of calling and a lot of things, and most of the time you're doing fun stuff like that. So just something to be aware of. So parking garages are great, great little tools you can use to change up the perspective. Especially if it's a nice open one, you can get multiple levels. But as rooftop access, you can shoot from the top, depending on how tall your building is. Luckily, mine's not that tall. It's about 22 stories. But the cool thing was I was able to be harnessed and go up on one that's being built adjacent to it, and it's about 60 stories, and was able to get a perspective of shooting down. So to kind of sum up this whole little thing, it's very important to scout out your location before anything starts. I kind of got into this gig, I wouldn't say halfway through, but a little past the beginning. So scouting out locations was like the first thing I did, and it just makes your job easier. So once they start moving around the building and doing different things, you always have a spot that you can plan for. Hope this helps you. I think the next video vlog I'm going to do is on being inside and keeping your equipment clean. So I hope this helps. Talk to you soon. Plan on doing these a lot. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and have a great 4th of July.